Thank you very much, Joe. Thank you very much, Ivo, Tharashan, and Nattu for being with us. And the first question for all of you, how do you see artificial intelligence reshaping the concept of remote work, and how will it affect productivity in the workplace?
Cool.
Na-
I'll go first.
Nattu, go ahead.
Yes, so a little bit of intro as well. I am co-founder and CTO of a company called LottieFiles. We create a small micro animation file format. We are 100 people across 17 different countries, so very, very, very distributed. How we see the future is, before we even see the future, we've got to understand what is the situation now. And doing a lot of things to shape the future that is going to help us as a company. So two parts to that. One is building products to empower others, bringing them to our products, and then enjoy or at least use AI. The second one is internally, how do we use AI to empower our workforce or our team members to build things better, faster, and more efficiently. And the third one is, of course, looking more in terms of ethical side of it. Because we are in the design space, we want to empower designers and developers to use that. And I think future comes as a part of emerging all of these things together where we feel comfortable using AI both internally and externally as much as we are with the cloud today, where, as you know, when we initially started, we were hesitant to put our files on the cloud, but we are now, everything lives in the cloud, and we don't really say we are cloud powered. It is assumed, just like that AI will be assumed both as a part of our working internally and then also the services that we provide to the external users as well. Thank you.
Ivo.
So I think when we're talking about the future of remote work, we're actually talking about the future of work just in general. And what we see right now is that the world of work is broken. Doesn't matter if it's remote, hybrid, on-site. We have a lot of challenges, and probably you would agree that some of the things like communication, micromanagement, broken collaboration, and lack of trust, company culture, the list is very long. So I would say that I see AI as something that can help fix us what we have right now in the workplace. And eventually, as we'll probably dive into this later on, AI will take care of all the things that we are not the biggest fan to do, all the mundane tasks. It will really help both augment what we do, but also automate some of the things. So I think that the future of work is bright if we do it right, if we focus on problems, not just the fancy technology, buzzwords, AI here and there, but real challenges that we have both as humans, but also as business owners. Because at the end of the day, AI has a great power, but with great power comes great responsibility. So we can also, we need to be aware that we can make mistakes and took it in the wrong direction. But I do hope that we'll create solutions that are human-centric. And I've been into the remote work community since 2017. So as a background, we've helped over 3,000 companies implement distributed work models. We worked with Walmart, Microsoft, ING Bank. And one of the main things that we've seen before pandemic, before everyone jumped on board of the remote work train, was the lack of trust and the fearing of, no, this is not for us. And then when everyone became the part of the remote equation, then we started to look at this kind of as a new normal. So I hope that the future is bright, but it's up to all of us how we leverage that technology. So it's no longer about where we work, but actually how we work.
Tharashan?
Awesome. I think this current iteration of AI is process automation. So I think what we're seeing is people who are working remotely, historically, that lack of trust that you mentioned was there. But now you're seeing people who are good, who are now producing great results, whether that's someone who is in a marketing function who doesn't know how to code, and suddenly they've got this ability to build the face of a web app, let's say, that they can take to the engineering team, which speeds up that production process. I think in terms of the flip side that I've noticed, having incubated almost 200 startups in the AI world, we're actually going the other way. So I know there's a rise in people wanting to work remotely, but what AI has done is really pushed people to have their own opinions, whether it's which model is better, which use case or application is better, and they're drawing their own sub-communities. So one thing that I've noticed, for example, in London, for example, is they really want to go after OpenAI. This is what we believe in. Whereas continental Europe and some of the regions that I've been speaking to, they really like the open sourced concept of, not OpenAI, of Meta and Alama's model. So I think it depends on which opinion you have, and that's drawing the community that you want to be, irrespective of whether that's remote or whether that's in the office together in a room.
So my feeling, my personal feeling, and let me ask you a question. Who of you would like to work 100% remotely? Raise your hands. Okay. Who of you prefer to work in a hybrid mode? You know, sometimes, okay. And who of you would like to work exclusively in person? So I guess that this goes with the age, Javier. You were the only one in raising your hand. I have a question for you three. So my experience, I mean, a little bit younger than Javier, but not much actually. Okay, I'm 55. What I felt, you know, after working for 1 year remotely, mainly remotely, is that, okay, I mean, it works really good, Teams, Zoom, works really well when you have very structured meetings, but we were missing informal information. I wouldn't know, I mean, I don't know how important is informal information and informal conversations in any organization, but I'm sure that they count for maybe 10, 20%. How do you manage avoid missing that informal communication that only happens when you are in a physical environment? Nattu, you're working with people in how many countries?
17 different countries.
100 people working in 17 different countries. So how do you make the magic happen?
I think early stage of a company, this is something that we really loved, that water cooler conversations that we have that pops up ideas and that kind of forms into kind of the product and reality. So that was extremely important, but as we went more distributed, this is, I would say, one of the things that we missed most. We try to recreate this using more informal conversations, after parties, after the bigger meetings and stuff, but it is hard, I would say. The other one that we have is something called like a donor call. So if somebody joins the company, they will be tied with like 2 other people to have a call every week so that they get to know about people. But this impromptu like conversation that starts within like near the water cooler conversations, it is hard to replicate, and that's something that I really miss.
Ivo.
So, first of all, a lot of companies that were remote before pandemic, they were still meeting in real life. They had their offline meetups, annual retreats. Like, this is the thing. So it doesn't mean that if you're virtual, then you don't see real humans from your company, right? The key to make this work is to be intentional, right? To be intentional on how you interact both online and offline. And this is the biggest issue that companies have, is to figure out how you can structure these connections. I really like that you brought up Donut. This is the app, if you haven't tried. It's basically matching you with your colleagues for some spontaneous conversations, or maybe structured stuff to discuss about your projects. But I think, like, number one, make this intentional to help team leaders who basically need to also wear a hat of an HR person or like a community builder, that it's not only about managing projects, deadlines, goals, KPIs, but also for them to create this social environment. And it doesn't matter if it's online or offline, but you need to be building these kind of habits and behaviors. And lastly, the remote work community before pandemic attracted a lot of introverts. So people that actually didn't look for a lot of interactions with humans. They just wanted to get the work done, be happy, enjoy it, and then be done with this, right? With the massive shift of the whole world to try online, I think we need to be very clear that it's not for everyone, and some people crave going to the office, and this is completely fine. But what I think we should all embrace is the freedom of choice, that it's up to us, or at least an agreement with our company or with the team where we work. Because if the expectations are met, then the productivity is high, the engagement is high, so it's a win-win, right?
Tharashan, what's your view?
Yeah, I think, briefly speaking, I don't think online communities or working remotely, you don't have the same connection as when you're in person. And this is my lived experience, having done fully in the office, fully remote and hybrid. I think what companies can do and what employees can do to help foster this environment, this culture, is we don't need to make our own communities. Each company doesn't need to make sub-communities. They already exist. So let your employers, whether it's, I know companies do L&D budgets or whatever, but I'm super interested in this. I found a community that's based near where I live. I go speak to those people. So as opposed to it being the pressure on the company to make every employee happy, which it is their responsibility, sure, but now the employees coming back to them really motivated, really ready to go, and also they're coming with new perspectives from a new community that's outside of the current stakeholders of their business. So yeah, honestly, I agree with everyone here, but my main point is I don't think you can recreate that. I think there are substitutes, alternatives, but I don't think it's the same.
And I think that goes really well with this recent kind of theme of companies no longer your family kind of a thing, right?
Yeah.
So you don't need to like force yourself on being this family and doing everything like a family. There are also other families that might already exist, aka the communities, and encourage people that if you're lacking these social interactions, for us as a remote team, go to this meetup about AI in Seoul, go to this meetup in Madrid, right? Interact with professionals like you, and this is the place that will give you energy or maybe interactions that you're craving.
Okay, let us get deeper on the impact of AI on the workplace. So, Ivo, you are a big supporter of the 3 days week.
3-day work week, not 3-day, yes.
Three, exactly. So let us get deep into the controversy and you explain how it may happen, how maybe in the future AI could enable people to work only 3 days and produce the same.
So first of all, it's not my idea. I'm the amplifier of what Bill Gates said a few months ago. He believes that the future is about working class, period, right? And this is now the question, how do we get there, how fast, and if the world, how it's set up right now, is ready for this. So what AI does for the work is it augments what we're doing, so we're doing stuff faster together with AI, but it also starts to automate more and more tasks. It's still pretty early days, but as it was released 2 weeks ago, the newest OpenAI model that can reason, and the next phase would be to connect reasoning with action, it means that a lot of stuff that we're doing would be done by agents, right? And of course, it sounds still very futuristic, but we need to acknowledge that in a matter of 3, 5, 10 years, there are different opinions, a lot of what we do right now will be done by robots. So in the world like this, we need to ask ourselves, like, okay, do we really need to work 5 days a week? Do we really need to work 4 days a week? Maybe 3 is enough. And of course, it can be 2, it can be 1, and at some point there will be universal basic income and no one works and just gets paid by the government. Of course, a bit of utopia right now. But I think it's the right moment to ask ourselves, is the model that was invented over 100 years ago to work 5 days a week, 9 to 5, still applicable? Like, the technology has changed tremendously, but how we work in terms of the time didn't, right? So I think this is what needs to be adjusted. There is actually already quite a lot of companies that are trialing 4-day work week. And I know that here in Korea, there was this law introduced in 2018 about the 52-hour work week to actually fight with long hours. And I think when we focus around productivity and not just about the time, we are starting to solve real problems. And then one of the solutions is that, okay, let's start measuring how much we work. let's start measuring our output. So then it doesn't matter if we work 5 or 4, because if it's measured right, if you have the right technology and the right setup, you will end up with the same results. And I wanted to just finish off with the results of the 4-day workweek trial that was done in the US and in UK. The productivity went up. The mental health factors, like, they were significantly improved, so the well-being went up. The revenue for some companies stayed the same, although they worked less or even increased. So I think there's a lot of positive aspects, and we need to have an honest conversation on what we should be changing, because the revolution is already knocking at our doors. And maybe today, 3-day might sound controversial, but in the future, it will be a new norm.
Nattu, you use AI intensively in your company, right?
Yes, so
Yes. So what are you waiting for establishing the 3 days work week?
So I have a little bit of controversial kind of thoughts around this one, because I think, like startups at our stage, we're not measuring, I would say, productivity by time, but by output. Because we know by default, we are going to be a failure. The only thing that we can move ahead is output. So treat like your team members or employees like adults. Focus on their output rather than, we give everybody like the freedom to where they can work from, whether it's home, we will give you work from home kind of elements to buy desks and other stuff. If you want to go and work from a co-working space, fine, we will handle that too for you. And if there's a team retreat, we will fly you to somewhere so that you connect with everyone else. That's the freedom of where you choose, right? Freedom of also time. We know that not everybody is productive at the same time. So we are like, you choose your timing. It doesn't matter whether you're spending 8 hours today or 4 hours today. What we care is your output. So again, treating people like adults. They need to be self-governed, self-managed. Also, a lot of times, like, things might just arise and somebody needs a holiday or today or tomorrow. Fine, just let your team know and then take the day off so that there's others who can come in to back you up. So there's like support system around it rather than hiring, let's say, one more HR person to make sure that everybody takes the same amount of leaves. Why not just let them go on that freedom? So I think whether 3-day work week or 4-day work week, 5, that comes down to the output. Some days you're more productive, some days you're not. But if you're forced in to be productive within a set of period of time in a week, that has different outputs. Of course, this differs from industries to industries. AI is going to augment and help them, but as human nature, or at least in the startup world, when you have more time, you want to get more things out rather than take a break and just go and chill because AI took care of half of my day. There's always more things to do. There's more things that you want to do, but you're busy with things that you had to do. So I think AI is going to enable us to do more things, companies to do more things, more output in that manner, and not necessarily think of this time frame of 3 workday week or 4-day work week.
Tartha, do you want to jump in? What do you think is going to happen? People is going to use this boost of productivity that comes from the use of AI in reducing the time they work or increasing what they produce, the outcomes?
Yeah, I think my thought here is the 3-day work week, is that for one company? So if I can do my 5-day job at Paddle, let's say, in 3 days, so will Paddle let me work on my side project for more days of the week? Like, that's the key conundrum that I think a lot of people will have, is what do you do with this suddenly unlocked free time? Because even if I'm working 3 days a week for Paddle, no one from Paddle has come to Korea, fortunately, so they can't hear what I'm saying. But yeah, if I was able to do it in 3 days, I'm sure deep down I can do it in 2 days. Like, I'm sure that AI will evolve in a way that you're only going to get more efficient. So I think I'm not for or against, or I can see a world and I see the argument. I think it's more so what are people going to do with that time, and also that will have a material impact on like how people are employed, whether it's contract is no longer going to be the normal contract. There's no non-competes in most people's contracts nowadays. What happens to those, considering it's so inflexible with the 3-day compared to the 3-day week?
I have a question for you all. So who of you prefer to reduce the work week to 3 days, maintaining the salary, the compensation, and who of you would like to keep working 5 days, but making the double of compensation? First group, raise hands. Second group. You are in the two, in the two groups. Good. Okay, Tharashan, I mean, you have been working with almost 180 startups in AI Launchpad.
Yep.
What trends do you see in these startups enabled by AI, with business models based on the use of AI?
The barrier to entry is so low now. I think there's a misconception in the world because of how exciting ChatGPT was that you no longer need to know how to code. That's factually not true. You still need to know how to code to be able to build a product that's secure. But the barrier to entry is lower. So the competition that we run is a fee-free accelerator program. We don't take any equity. The winner of the first program finished his bachelor's degree that summer. So he was building this product, this AI product, just as the AI boom happened, and he was able to start doing this with his friends. The barrier to entry is so low. But then in the same program, we've got the flip side, where we've got a product manager of a monstrous, big tech company who, with his core team, have built a new like feature for their product that has been acquired by the company that they work for. So I think the key thing here is no longer are you drawn to people who are similar to you, because when I was in the office, my friends that I surrounded myself, they liked football. They were loud like me. We had the same skills. We worked in the same teams. Whereas now, because of AI, everyone's on a level playing field. And what's interesting is people are more intrigued by the different backgrounds, whether you studied at Harvard or whether you're part of the UN Accelerator and you're a Ghanaian startup. The levels now seem so similar. And I think the key takeaway for me is when I read an application, I no longer spend as much time on the actual quality of the answers. I just look at the actual startup, the market size they're looking at, because I feel like Eric, who was the speaker before us, he was talking about how his English level wasn't the greatest. Yeah, that's true with AI as well. It doesn't matter if your English isn't that great. As long as you've got an idea and you can take it to market, in whichever market that is, it will naturally grow. So I think that barrier to entry is gone now.
So to the three of you, how we can use AI to build a community, a bigger sense of communities within companies? 1 minute answer, please. We are running out of time.
Cool. I'll start. Focus on, let's say, developers. In entire company, we've given everyone access to Copilot, GitHub Copilot, so that the dev is a community. They're creating, building stuff, showing to everybody else what they've built within 2 hours or within 1 day, whereas it kind of get them to do in a month, or at least, let's say, a few weeks. Now they can do it within a few hours. That kind of teaches others how to use AI, not necessarily, even for skilled employees. This is useful to train within, and that community is going to help them do it. Similar case for designers, similar case for designers and, copywriters and marketers as well. So you need to create this community within your team for somebody to champion AI and then kind of teach to everybody else, and for everyone else to pick that up and then kind of contribute to that as well.
So I think there is a very interesting framework to use here. It's called STEP framework when it comes to introducing AI to the company. The first S stands for segmentation. So you need to look at the tasks that you're doing, if they can be automated, augmented, or if they should remain human only. Within this phase, it's really about the discovery. I'll be talking about it tomorrow at my keynote about the A-maturity index, where it's really about, okay, this is where I am, this is what are the benchmarks, this is what are the use cases, the tools, this is where we should go after. The second step, it is about transition. So once we know what can be automated, augmented with AI, there will be some necessity to change how the work is done within the organization. So it's like a typical change management process. Then E stands for education. So there is a need for upskilling, there is a need for reskilling. There's no way around it. And then the last one, performance, you need to measure the change. Without that, you don't know if you succeeded or failed.
Tharashan?
Yeah, I think just let people play with this. This is new. Like AI is new, and there are going to be people who are naturally more drawn to this. So at Paddle, we are building an experimentation function, which I'm leading. And the people in the team are crazy. Like we've got Isabella from finance who found a way to, with ChatGPT to automate like tax regulation rules by different countries as they're updated. We've got Sasha in marketing who has built his own GPT that optimizes SEO. It's the first thing that he did. These kind of things, no one told them to do it. It's just a natural interest that they have. Give people the freedom to play with that if that's what they want, and you'll be surprised at what we can do. We might even build an accelerator program, which is what we ended up doing.
Okay, please join me in giving a big hand to these three amazing innovators. Thank you very much.
Thank you.